name's Skylar.
And my name is Tyler.
Before you listen to the brand new season of Dad's podcast, Over the Rainbow,
We want to say a big thank you to the traditional owners of the land we're on today.
we're standing on the lands of the Wurundjeri people who have looked after this land for thousands and thousands of years.
Do you know which land you're on right now?
Do you? We want to pay our respects to elders past, present, and the ones who are growing up today, just like us. This land was and always will be Aboriginal land.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Over the Rainbow, a Queer Dads podcast series. This is Murray and I am your host. This week I'm joined by Rav and Phil, who share their inspiring story of adopting their 3 children in the United Kingdom. They take me through the adoption process in detail, first being placed with their 2 sons and later welcoming their daughter, who was a wonderful but unexpected addition to the family. This conversation was a long time in the making, but I'm so glad we finally made it happen. Rav and Phil open up about the highs and lows of fatherhood and the unique challenges of raising 3 children, each with their own special needs. I was already a big fan of Rav and Phil, but after sitting down with them, my admiration grew even more. Their dedication, love and resilience as dads is truly inspiring. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and I know you will too. Let's take a listen. Now, I have a confession to make. You guys were the first guests that I had on my podcast series, and I remember the day clear as mud. I had everything set up. I was testing everything. I was doing sound control, playing it back. You guys came over. We had some lunch. The kids had a play, and then I sat you down to have our chat. And we had our chat. It was juicy and it was fantastic. You guys left and I was like, I'm onto a winner here. This is so great. And I forgot to turn on your microphones, didn't I? So there was no recording. I remember I was like, I'm not going to tell them. I'm going to interview some other dads first and see if I can actually do it. And then I'll tell them. And I remember you two were so gracious. You were like, that's okay. Because really, you came for nothing. You were lovely about it.
Got a nice lunch, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
It was, and the kids had a great time, so it was all good.
I wanted to invite you back this season because your chat is fantastic about how you started your family. I'm going to hand it over to you. I want you to cast your minds back to when you two were deciding that you wanted to start a family. What was happening and what path did you take?
We knew quite early on that we wanted to have kids, obviously. I think that was date number 1.
It was date number 1.
Kids.
Yeah.
And we'd both been in relationships previously where our exes didn't want kids. I think that's why we were quite clear, no, that is something that we want in our lives and making sure. And so it was only about 2 years in and we started sort of looking at pathways for us, what that might look like. And we went along to various, like, making families.
Information evening.
Yeah. And that was in London. After that, we went and met with like a surrogate. Especially like a organization, and quickly realized that it would take a lot of our money to do that, and
which is a genuine concern because it's very expensive.
It is.
And not financially viable for a lot of couples.
I think for us, we were also in a 1-bed flat in central London, no garden or anything, and we were mindful that if we went down that path, we'd be stuck there basically. And I'm also a social worker. I used to work in frontline child protection, so I'd been kind of on the other side where I was having to remove kids from abusive situations, etc. I was also mindful of all of the other kids that needed homes and were needing loving families, and we've both got adoption in our families. So already Phil's dad was adopted. I have an adopted brother.
It just made sense, really, didn't it?
Absolutely.
The stars aligned and then we sort of agreed on adoption, really.
Yeah. And then just sort of from there, we just explored various organizations and, adopted our 2 boys. And 6 months in from having them, we got a call saying their baby sister's been born.
Wow.
So within a year, just as the year was coming up, we then had a baby placed with us. So we had
Which
a
is the
5-year-old.
real reality when you adopt kids, right? Is that you don't know what's going to be coming around the corner. And in this case, it was another baby.
Yeah.
So 5-year-old, 2-year-old, and 7-month-old, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So 2 boys and a girl. And and that was how many years ago now? Oh my goodness.
About seven.
A long
7,
time ago,
isn't
if you have to think about it.
it?
But to give context, because this is an Australian podcast, and I'm sure we have many listeners listening all around the world. But for context, Australia versus the UK in terms of adoption. Adoption's not really commonplace in Australia. Things are trying to change, but it's very, very slow. I think it's single figures for successful adoptions that go through. But in the UK, it's the complete opposite. It's kind of what fostering is here is adoption in the UK.
Absolutely. It's a 6-month process for being assessed. And, from start to finish, they'll literally have all of the checks done in the first 2 months. Then you have like your intensive sessions with the social worker in the house every week, like 2-3 hours at a time. It's like therapy. Literally, you're going through everything.
Yeah.
And on a weekly basis. And so then by the next 4 months, you're well and truly know whether you're going to be approved. In fact, we were already looking at
children, at children's profiles. I think our process was only, year and a half from start to finish, wasn't it?
Yeah, we started in the February, and the next year by April.
I think as well, because we were in a good position, we wanted a mixed race sibling group who weren't babies, and they are hard to place.
Right.
So I think that's why we sort of had a lot of opportunities to adopt, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which was hard then because you have so much love to give children.
It's a bit of taboo here in Australia, how people see adoption.
I feel, because we've only been in Australia 18 months, I feel as though not many people talk about it. It's a harder process to go through. I feel as though it's not celebrated as much. I feel like in England, people are a lot more open about it. So, for example, we went to a primary school and I think it's like 5 children in our kids' school were adopted.
No, there was 4 kids
in one class.
In one class. So our eldest was one of 4 boys adopted in his class, just in his classroom. And there were so many kids in the school that were adopted.
Yeah. But it's spoke about and it's celebrated and it's understood and it's just part of everyday life.
Yeah.
Here, I feel if somebody is adopted, it's a big deal. Like it's rare, I feel.
Yes. Yeah, no, you're completely right. And the reason why I asked you to reflect on that is because I've mentioned it before. I think adoption is not really something that's taken up much in Australia because of the issues that we've had in the past with the stolen generation. Kids forcibly being removed from families and then adopted out, and then all the repercussions of that. So a lot of the policies in Australia with the way that we deal with kids is because of those wrongs, and this is all just my opinion, but because of those wrongs, the policies and the government has a viewpoint at all costs a child should be connected to their biological roots. So we won't favour adoption because we won't get that. We will favour fostering. But what that doesn't have, because I've lived in both systems, because I lived in the UK and I adopted my children in the UK, is that some kids will thrive if they're put into a loving family where all their needs are met, and then they grow up knowing who they are, knowing that they're adopted, but having the best chance at life, versus the fostering system where kids are dipped in and out of trauma. It's sort of like, where do they belong? Where can they thrive?
Absolutely.
And especially when foster placements are so hard to find.
Yeah.
And, they can break down so easily, and then having young people that need to be placed multiple times, or kids that, needing to be placed multiple times, different places on a regular basis, it can get really, it's just more and more trauma.
Well, I mean, it has a flow-on effect, right? Because what happens is that quality potential foster carers or potential adopters don't move into that pathway because it's just too difficult. They're just met with too many things that make it too difficult. So then they go and explore other pathways to parenthood. And who's left?
And that's why we were passionate to have a sibling group, because we've got 3 children, but they're actually 3 of 6.
Right.
And so there are 3 other siblings that we're close in contact with. And when we lived in England, they all had sleepovers and we, used to meet up a lot. For that reason is to keep that, that some contact with biological family as well.
Tell me about placement. So you were placed with your 2 boys first, which remind me of the age that they were placed with you?
5 and 2.
5 and 2.
Our younger son, he was literally turned 2 during our introduction, so we got to celebrate with him. It's nice.
I don't know what your viewpoint on energies is, but it's undeniable that when you're in a relationship, you cultivate an energy with each other.
Yeah.
Imagine overnight that energy going to another 5-year-old, another 2-year-old. Then with your energy, it would have been, I would imagine, chaotic.
I'd probably say the first little bit was just exhausting. Exhausting would be, oh my goodness. Like, we would spend only, sometimes it was only half a day with them. And we were just giving so much that we'd go back to the accommodation where we were being put up. And we would even not eat dinner. We'd sometimes just literally just go to bed because we were so tired.
Yeah. And we wouldn't even speak.
No.
It was just just didn't have the energy.
Yeah, but there's just so much attention you have to give to kids. And it's almost like you have to build that resilience.
Absolutely.
So you don't get
it's
to
almost
do
like
that.
an off and an on switch. And then suddenly for the first time you're on and you're like, oh my God, just flick that off switch. I just need to be mute for a moment. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. I think when you have a newborn, you get to go through and you slowly kind of ease into the bit where they're the toddler and they're running around and you're having to chase them everywhere. Whereas day one, you're like, boom, they're running around.
So it would be biological parents taken from them, then to foster carers, and then to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, they had 2 foster placements because the first foster placement broke down.
Right.
So they were placed with foster parents with 4 siblings, 2 boys and 2 girls. They weren't great foster parents. And so it was deemed that he was quite abusive towards his sisters. So the boys had a relationship, so they got put in a second foster placement together, while the other 2 girls were being adopted separately.
Yeah.
So essentially when they got to you, it was their 4th home.
Yeah. And that brings a lot of complexities in itself. Not only have you got strangers in your house, it's strangers who we chose, but they didn't choose us. And it was all the complex web of emotions of, oh, I've got so much love and I want you to love us and equally, and it wasn't equal and they favoured me over Rav, and it was so hard, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think, and then 6 months in, a baby being thrown into the mix as well.
Oh my goodness.
It was
how much more can we take?
It was a lot for the first few years. Those are the bits that I really struggle to remember. Sometimes I'm like, am I suppressing this?
Is it going to come out in 10 years' time in some sort of manifest in some way? I get it, because Stephen and I went through the exact same thing when we were placed with ours. Tala she was like 6, 7 months. So she was a baby. She was fine. She just, cried, ate and pooped, and that was kind of it. But Skylar was just about to turn 2 when we got him. We were his 4th home. He was so scared of us. And we, exactly like you said, Phil, had so much love to give. And I remember it was, we got placed with Skylar, and I reckon 2 weeks later, it was his 2nd birthday. But in my head, I'm like, I'm going to go all out for his 2nd birthday. So I put balloons all over the house and presents and all the rest of it. We basically kicked down his door and we're like, happy birthday! And we poppers, and he just burst into tears. And I said, just even take them back. Yeah. Take the balloons back. Less is more. Less is more. But it's just, and the exhaustion. I mean, every parent will tell you that they're exhausted, but this is another level of exhaustion because you've not been drip fed them. You've all just come together overnight.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's really tough. I used to say I would be the best parent from Monday to Saturday if I had Sunday off. But it's like a tide. It just keeps pulling you. It's relentless.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Do you know how often we'd, like, once they'd sort of moved in properly, we'd put a movie on with them sort of lying on us or whatever, and we'd just, like, have day naps because that was the only way to
Exhausted. Yes.
to rest. And I think also you're not used to having anybody else in the home, so you're constantly alert during the night, like, oh my God, did they just get up out of bed? Like, you know, you need to sort of build that kind of nighttime awareness as well. And
we kept checking they were breathing.
I know.
Right, we literally used to take it in turns to go, right, just check that they were breathing.
Yes. Almost every parent will say that they've had that. I would have visions because we had a huge landing. I would have visions that I would get to the top with the pram and then I'd go and unpack shopping, but they would leave them in the pram and the pram would roll back and that would be how they would die. And just like, it was all very dramatic.
Yeah. For us, they've all been good sleepers. So
that's good.
And we thank whoever is responsible for that, because that is just a godsend.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, if they struggle to sleep, that must be 100 times worse.
Well, I mean, let's get into the challenges. So go back. You're with three, a brand new baby, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Go down the line. What was happening?
So before Rihanna even got there, so about 2 weeks into the boys being placed with us, we had Tyrese initially was the one that probably showed the most kind of, it was almost like a fear of me just every time I walked into the room. And we couldn't, and we never were able to work out what it was about, but we suspect it was just my skin color. And it was the fact that the only person they'd been with of like darker skin was their abusive father. And so that kind of lack of exposure meant that when he was it was clearly bringing up something for him, but he would ignore me. The kid, and there was like a male thing as well. That's been like a long standing thing with the boys. Like even before we adopted them, the social workers had said like, look, the boys do struggle with males in particular. So when they moved to the second foster placement, they completely ignored the male foster care, like literally looked through him for the first month. Like he did not exist. The social workers were, I think, a little bit apprehensive about the boys being placed with 2 males.
And the foster carers.
And the foster carers, for that reason. So they had something called a bump-in, and we basically met with the foster carers, their social worker, our social worker, and we discussed like how we're going to pretend to run into the foster carers at like a child-friendly pub with a little play area, and they would see how the boys interacted with us. And we were told in no uncertain terms, like, just be prepared, they're not going to acknowledge you. They don't with men. Even when family members have come to the house, they'll just ignore them. So that's what we were kind of prepared for. And so we met up, we pretended to run into them as friends with the foster carers who we'd met that morning.
I just imagine you, Phil. Hello. Thespian from way back.
Gave them a big massive hug. It's like, fancy seeing you here. Yeah, I know. It's the whole we were good actors. We were spot on.
I had no doubt.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Within minutes, the boys were engaging with us, they were going off with us, and even the foster carers were like, wow, we've never seen boys interact with anybody like this. So that's when, after that, they kind of sped up the process after that.
Yeah.
But that was a challenge, and Tyrese in particular, who was 2 at the time, would favor Phil. Would often, like, even if we're standing next to each other, he'd come up to Phil and give him a big hug and be like, love you, Dad, and then just give me the side eye and just walk off.
That's super tough. Like it's a little bit amusing, but it's super tough because you a new parent, it's happened to you overnight. You're so exhausted, and then you're not getting the feels. Like you're not getting
No.
that lovey feeling thing that you're supposed to get to, to sort of, all the shit that you're going through. You've got to get that little bit to make it worthwhile, and you weren't getting that. So that must have been tough.
And I was home. I was the one that was at home all day, every day. I would say if it wasn't for Rihanna coming along, I think it might have even been harder. Because when she came along, she was the opposite, because she came just as my adoption leave finished and I was going back to work. And Phil was then at home for the next year with Rihanna. And funnily enough, she was very much a daddy's girl. And so I had that until...
Which is you, yeah?
I suppose.
Your
I'm daddy.
Yeah,
Sorry, yeah.
right,
So,
yeah.
yeah. And I think that just kind of let me experience that.
Yes.
That kind of pure just love. And whereas the boys, it just took longer.
Yeah.
And we completely get it. It is that kind of attachment trauma stuff that just needed to occur over time. And, I think it was, oh God, how old was Tyrese when we started third play?
6?
Was it 6?
About 5, 6.
So, as much as things got better, we still engaged with something called Theraplay, which is like play. Not quite. It's not play therapy, but it focuses more on building that attachment, and you sort of that they kind of regress back to like younger versions of themselves, and then they kind of develop those attachments through things like just like singing to them and like tactile playing and things like that, and it made the most incredible changes in our relationship.
So you guys would go and do these things that you would typically do with, say, a baby. You would do it with...
Yes,
and
exactly.
then that builds the attachment that you may have missed. Yeah, right, okay.
Sure, yeah.
It's basically because they didn't have that stage.
Yes.
So they needed to regress. So we would literally rock, our eldest as like a 10-year-old, and we would feed him a bottle. So like a fruit shoot or like an apple juice.
Yeah.
And we'd be rocking him, singing to him whilst he's literally sucking this bottle.
Yeah.
To try and regress the brain back to have a positive baby experience in order for them to move forward.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was so bizarre watching them. In the sessions, they really just regressed. And we were like, what is going on? And it wasn't even like, there was no instruction to do that. It was just they naturally did that, and like even now, like Tyrese is 10, and we still sing the same kind of nursery rhyme at bedtime, so because they just loved it. Like they'd be like, because we'd put them in like a little blanket almost, and we'd just sing like different like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and stuff like that, and they just loved it. That was like
blanket. There's something in that, isn't there? Yeah, because we did that with Skylar and Tala, and you sang like it's a nursery rhyme, but there was something in the actual rocking motion. What is that?
It's the sensory, it's the regulation, it's the swing and the pendulum, and
amazing.
It's fascinating.
It was, and so I think that was like the biggest change, but it also then changed how we kind of interacted with them in certain ways as well. Just almost going back, because we're treating them a little bit younger, we're seeing them as younger as well, and we're then responding to them
and also this is a new relationship for you guys, and anyone knows with a long-term relationship is it's like the ocean. It gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And how does it get deeper and deeper and deeper? With time. So you had 3 kids, 2 tired dads. You're obviously going through the stages and you're getting to know your children. Tell us what was happening when you decided, well, let's go and move across the other side of the world.
I feel as though as the kids have got older, we have, obviously I'm a primary school teacher. Rav has been a social worker and he now works in high schools. We've sort of obviously gained more knowledge. We've gained more knowledge about early trauma. And particularly with the boys, as they've grown older, their traits of autism have sort of seemed to be a bit stronger. And our knowledge of special needs and ASD and neurodivergence has increased a lot. During lockdown, we hit a crisis point, and you asked about challenges. Lockdown was really, it was tough for everybody, but we hit a crisis point, and our children really responded badly to us being the teacher. And so me being a teacher, I wanted to be their teacher, and they didn't see me as their teacher. They saw me as dad. And that caused a lot of friction and a lot of upset and fear and sadness and resentment. And I think it was more lack of control. I think because, when you're stuck with the same people for 24/7, I think school gave them respite, gave us respite.
Yeah.
So when you're constantly, even now, Tyree struggles in the holidays because he's with us all the time.
Yes.
And so there's no respite for them.
And when I know that people will be listening going, what do you mean by that? Like, why do you need respite from your kids, or why do your kids need respite? And, we've got to realize, like, with their trauma, what that actually means is things can trigger them a lot easier than with other kids in terms of their kind of fear response, the flight, freeze, fight kind of response kicks in because, they'll be triggered over something that they might not even realize on a conscious level. Absolutely. It could be a smell, it could be a feeling, and they're back to that abusive situation that they were in when they were 9 months old or, 3.5. So we got that. And then on top of that, we had that additional layer for our eldest, who is ASD, who at the time we had purely thought it was trauma. But because he wasn't in the routine, he'd lost all of his routines in terms of going to school and the structure of that. And it was just, it was a really tricky time. And it kind of helped us to sort of go, hang on a second, this isn't just trauma. There is something else there with him. So, and he subsequently got a diagnosis. And actually the play therapist was very much like, yep, I needed you guys to come to that. I couldn't tell you. I needed you guys.
Was that, Rav, was that in the UK that diagnosis came, or was it in Australia?
Yes. Yeah. No, it was.
But it was post-adoption, so you didn't know going into it being placed with the children that one need for your children was,
Yeah.
And then after lockdown, we came to Australia to visit Rav's parents and family and sister and stuff and friends. And all three of the kids were like completely different kids.
Yeah.
They were calmer. They were more responsible, respectful. At first, we were like, it's just holiday mode. Like, of course they're going to be happier. Of course, we haven't got the daily pressures of life. We're not doing washing and we're having all this fun. There was a different aura about them. And even when we got home, they just spoke. They were devastated to be leaving, and we were like, because they were pleading with us to move here, and we said, but what about your friends? That's okay, we'll make new. They had an answer for all three of them, had an answer for everything. So we were like, okay, let's leave it. Let's just leave it a few months. Let's get back into work, reality, and we'll ask them again. And we had the conversation of, would you move over there if you wanted? And all of us voted yes. And we were like, okay, well, why not? Let's try it. What is the worst thing that could happen? We don't like it, so we end up going back. But at least we've scratched that itch. At least we would know, and at least the kids would know, because we said we wouldn't move over here if they didn't want to.
It reminds me of that British TV show where they go they go over to Australia and test it, and then at the end they have to hold up a board saying, we want to stay in Australia. We want to move to Australia, or we want to stay in the UK. I was just picturing you guys looking up going, we want to move.
We called a family meeting. We're like, right, kids, let's have a seat.
And we kept asking them because we were like, nah, this is not, they're not going to really want to go.
No. Yeah. And I think there was a couple of things. So for Junior, he loves wildlife and animals and things. So when coming here, there was, he just saw kangaroos everywhere. He saw all these kind of birds as opposed to pigeons. So he was just like, this is where I want to be. And he was like day 2, and we're like, this kid who struggles to not sit in his spot on the sofa wants to move to the other side of the world.
Yeah.
How? What?
Yeah, a
Yeah.
kid who doesn't like change
Yeah.
and who doesn't cope very well with change wants everything to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tyrese, he was still in that first week that we were here visiting, and he just turned around and he was just like, something like,
I don't feel so special anymore.
I don't feel special here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, darling, I'm so sorry to hear that. Like, why is that? And he's just like, well, no, because there's other people the same color as me here. Because it's a lot more diverse where we're living down and where my family were when he visited. Whereas in the north of England, he was very much the only person of color in his classroom, and there wasn't much diversity in our area or even at a school. So he found that was just, it wasn't even a thing for him anymore. So, and it hasn't been, like, I don't feel like since we've moved, it's, it's not a thing for him anymore. So, which has been lovely.
Guys, I want you to tell me a little bit about having it's just, is Junior the only one of your children on the spectrum, or just Junior?
Yes, officially.
Let's go into how that plays out in the family dynamic and what you do about it. Can you share some insight?
We're all on the neurodivergent spectrum. It's a massive wide spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our daughter was assessed by a pediatrician who said she does have ADHD traits, but not enough that it's impacting school or life or anything.
Yeah.
That's as far as that went, which was really helpful. It's like, right, okay.
Yeah.
We feel that Tyrese does have traits of, it's called PDA, it's pathological demand avoidance.
Okay.
Again, it's not very well known over here. In some parts of England, they do create an official diagnosis. It's part of the autistic spectrum. And when we looked and researched it, he ticks every single box for PDA. A lack of autonomy is a trigger for him. So he has to be in control as much as possible. He sees adults as equal. So if he doesn't respect somebody or doesn't want to do what the adult says, he'll argue against it. If he feels in danger of death, so for example, a fly in his bedroom, he will have the almightiest meltdown because his brain has flooded his nervous system that he is in danger of death.
Wow.
And there's trauma involved in that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So therefore, most kids would go, oh, shoot, go away. Whereas PDA kids, it's an absolute meltdown, can't go back in the bedroom, freezes, shouts, fights, sweats, cries until that fly has gone.
Yeah.
Another one is so with PDA children is if you just tell them to do something, they wouldn't necessarily just do it because they should do it. You have to explain why it benefits them and you, and once they've had a conversation around it, they then have a choice.
Yes.
And so one of the techniques for PDA children is to lower the demand. So sometimes I will go in and help Tyrese tidy his bedroom because he really struggles because he wants to tidy his bedroom. Just PDA would say, from a PDA lens, is that his body just doesn't allow it to. So he might want to tidy his bedroom, but he just responds better when one of us go in and help him with it, because then it's less of a demand on him then.
But you're a family of 5, you're both working, you've got 3 children, all completely different, and then wow, that's a lot.
And I think as well, this is what we've taken years to realise. Each of our kids needs to be parented in a different way. And I think that's one of the biggest learning curves for me personally.
Absolutely.
Is that I just felt, well, we'll all just, we'll just give them love and they'll just do as they're told. And, that's okay. They've got early trauma, but we can fix them. It's fine. I never realised it's not about fixing, they'll always have that early trauma. And so it's how they can cope with that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really interesting because if you look at all 3 of them, they are a really good example of understanding trauma almost, because if you look at Junior, he was just under 4 years old when he was removed from birth parents. So he was the second oldest out of the 4 that were removed from birth parents. He had seen a lot more, experienced a lot more physical, emotional neglect.
Missed a lot of those
all sorts.
essential attachment things that come at the early years, the 1
Very
marker, the
much.
2 marker. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we go to Tyrese, who is the 4th out of the 4 siblings. And he was only 9 months old when he was removed.
Yeah.
But for those first 9 months, he had no stimulation whatsoever.
Yeah.
We saw videos of him when he was like first came into foster care, and it was like the lights are on but nobody's home.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't engage with the world around him, and it was only when he went to the second foster carers who started giving that nurture and that love. All of a sudden, you could see there was somebody present inside, and he was engaging with the world. And so he had that neglect and a little bit of that kind of trauma, but he was so little, it's not like he's going to have those kind of vivid memories. It's more the
intrinsic,
yeah, and
it's a feeling.
Yeah. And then Rihanna was removed at birth.
Yeah.
And she went straight to an amazing foster carer. And so she doesn't have the same baggage. Yes, she can be, sometimes, my God, that girl does not stop talking. And she's just, and she's in everything, and she's just, wanting to like, oh, just give me some more love. Like, and just constantly wanting to follow you around and do stuff with you. But she doesn't have that other stuff that the boys have had to deal with, if that makes sense. And so we have almost like different responses for them. Like, when I say response, different parenting types.
Yeah, for sure.
That we kind of have, for each one of them.
And Junior, you've left the best to last.
Yeah, and we've now entered the teenage years. So Junior's 13 now, and I think with him aged 5, any behaviour, we're like, well, is it because he's adopted? Is it because he's on the spectrum? Is it because he's got early trauma? And it's a combination of everything.
Yes. Yeah.
And so now we've sort of, maybe from about sort of June onwards, puberty has well and truly hit our house. And so that adds another level of complexity, because it's like, well, is that a typical teenager? Is it because he's, in a different country? Is it because he's autistic? Is it because... And again, it's just a complex web of trying to decipher.
You won't be able to answer that every time. You'll just say, well, we don't know the answer to that, but we have to deal with what's in front of us.
And all we can do is our best with the tools that we have at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's all that any parent can do. And so we have really struggled. Like, it has been a massive, massive shift of energy in our house, hasn't it?
Since June, just with regards to our eldest, Junior.
Yeah.
So with the other 2, absolutely amazing. We haven't had those same things. Like, Tyrese can get, like you said, he'll go into his caveman brain and he's then heightened. But because we also know how to respond to him, it's quite easy to be able to go, all right, just take some time, use your techniques use strategies that we've got. Let's ground ourselves. Let's have some time out, and then we'll come back and we'll have a chat. So we know how to respond to that. But because of all of those other elements with a teenager, and we weren't expecting it. Yeah, it just kind of hit us like a tornado.
So it sort of felt like a domino effect. So whenever Junior gets challenged on anything, and it could be dead tiny, what he hears is, you're a bad boy. This is the early trauma response. So therefore, he escalates the behaviour because he's repeating his trauma cycle. So we come at it from a therapeutic parenting always initially. He then gets triggered, so then he'll be disrespectful or rude, or he'll become verbally abusive or aggressive, so therefore he gets challenged on that. But because he doesn't get hit, he doesn't get physically hurt, he then escalates it because he's repeating the trauma cycle, because when he was a kid, he would get a wallop or he'd get dunked in the bath head first. There would be some form of abuse which stopped that cycle of telling off. But because we don't do that, he then get more and more triggered and more dysregulated.
Is that because for him it doesn't feel like that it's been completed?
Yes, yeah. So sometimes he might threaten to hurt himself or set the house on fire, or he might threaten to do something to try and shock us into reacting.
That came quite early. Like
Yeah,
it was like 5, 6, and he'd be like, "Go on, then throw me down the stairs."
Yeah,
well, like all we did was, "Please don't slam the door." Like, why? How have we gone from "Please don't slam the door" to just throw me down the stairs and kill me?
And you wouldn't necessarily have known that was him trying to complete the cycle. So you're probably thinking, what's going on here? This is just too much.
Yeah. Whereas now it's more sinister things. So it's like he steals from us and he moves things to be awkward so that we can't find them, and he writes little messages, he, sorry, not sorry, stealing from his siblings, sort of threatening them.
And when we say stealing, we're going to put it into context. Stealing, like going into the pantry. We all have our little boxes with treats and stuff in it.
Okay.
And he'll go into he'll come and grab chocolate from us.
But he'll gorge, but he'll take all of it.
Yes,
like it's not just one or two.
But knowing that these are not his, and it's going to cause issues.
It's the malicious, the sneakiness of it.
But you got to remember, this all came out like we thought, because he is quite emotionally immature. And he doesn't, and because he can be quite almost, because he has ASD as well, he's
socially awkward.
Yeah, he's socially awkward, but he doesn't give a lot. And so it's always felt like when you're looking at him, when you're seeing him through like frosted glass. And so you can never quite see all of him. And so I don't think, and so we were like, okay, so he behaves as a much younger child. But again, that can be, he's a chameleon. So if he's with his younger siblings, he will behave like his younger siblings. But if he's with kids his own age, he will then behave like, somebody of that age.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would not quite see him. And I think we were quite maybe a little bit naive, thinking, maybe he doesn't know all of these things, or he doesn't.
Well, he pretended not to.
He pretended not to.
Yeah.
And so Phil would have the birds and the bees conversation with him, and he'd be
puberty conversations, and he would just play complete like, oh, I don't know, I didn't know.
Yes.
But he knew a lot more than what he let off.
So there's like a disconnect, is what I'm hearing, a disconnect between. You feeling like you probably don't really fully know him. Would that be fair to say?
I think it's about him showing us all of it.
Yes.
I think he's always been guarded.
Yeah.
He's got, and again, I think this comes down to the trauma is not letting I can't be that vulnerable that I show exactly everybody who I am.
Yes. And putting on a front. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you often think about, if you were in the UK because you had adopted children, those support services and all of that, you'd be really linked in with those. Have you noticed that you have to fight a little bit more for that support?
Yes. Absolutely. Because they're over there, even once the local authority is closed, you can still access services for adopted children. But even just like high school, you get to choose whichever high school you want for your kids.
Yeah,
they get first preference. And you can't, there's no zone. It is just, they get first preference. So there are, I think, more supports, definitely. But we have access supports, both for him and for us, which has been really nice, and being able to sort of go and have some of these conversations and just like hear each other, because sometimes we hear each other but not actually hear each other. Does that make sense?
But not listen.
No, I was going to ask, actually, what kind of impact does that have on a relationship? You're tired, you're just worn out, you're exhausted. You've got 3 very different children. You've got one that's very, very high needs in terms of, and then you've got, oh, hello, remember me?
Yeah.
I'm your partner.
I think we're really good at communicating.
Yeah.
Right.
I really think, especially in this past year, I feel as though we've been on a journey together, really. And this is one of the reasons why we moved here, because in the UK, we just didn't have time for each other
Yeah.
because it was all so intense and it was just about us being a parent.
Yeah.
Or work. 'Cause we
All work, yes. Yeah.
long hours, which
Yeah.
we don't have to here,
No.
which is amazing. So we've just got a better quality of life here.
Yeah. So we've
It's
had the
amazing.
time to focus on us as well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also get to do things for ourselves, like
Yeah.
even going to the gym and stuff, which we didn't get an opportunity in the UK.
Yes. Yeah.
Just having those kind of outlets for ourselves, I think,
Respite.
yeah,
Yeah,
to fill our
respite,
cups a little
absolutely.
bit so we can,
Yeah.
we've got that. And
Well, if you don't
as
fill
much
your cup,
as-
you've got nothing to give.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. So, and that's what got us through, I think, is just, and we were always, I'd like to say that we're pretty much on the same page when it comes to the parenting. And even when one of us goes, oh, we need to maybe think, let's try this strategy, or let's, we're very open to that. And we don't kind of, when one of us will say that might have not been the right approach, but maybe could we try do that? It's not like we don't take that personally. That's kind of like, okay, let's just go from that. Yeah.
Guys, we'll probably wrap up here. I do have to add in, it's a bit of lightheartedness. I remember one of the first times I met you guys, and I met your son, Junior, was at a big Christmas party that we had at my house with, I want to say hundreds of dads all throughout the house.
Literally.
And I noticed Junior was very quiet and reserved, and having no context to Junior as a person, I offered him to be my helper. And I said, you can get up in front of everybody and you can be my helper and you can call out people's names, and the look of terror. And then you were like, Phil, no. Have
Tyrese would. He'd love that.
He's just oh my God, center of attention. Yes, I love that. I don't know. I don't know if you saw this, but I spent so much of that party sitting outside with him whilst he was crying because he was just so overwhelmed.
So overwhelmed.
And that's at 12. It was just like this.
And I actually asked you guys if you were going to the Christmas party that we had recently, and it was a definitive no. It's not for our family.
You live and learn.
Guys, let's wrap up by if you could go back in time and give yourself any advice when you became parents, what would you say to yourself? I know that's a tough one, but I think a lot of new parents get wrapped up and caught up in things that don't necessarily, in hindsight, really matter that much. Yeah. And, if you had the opportunity to go back and tap yourself on the shoulder, what would you say?
I think for me, it would be, you're not going to be able to fix that early trauma.
Yeah.
So accept it, embrace it. It's part of who they are, and understand it more. And I think as well, for us, I'd advise people to focus on their relationship together, not just being a parent.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I feel like, because obviously you want to be the best parent that you can be. And I never understood why parents split up after having kids. But going through that, I was like, oh, completely understand it now. So I would definitely give myself permission to focus on myself and Rav and us as a partnership, as individuals, rather than just be obsessed about being the best dad that I could be.
I think that's great advice for any new parent. That really resonates with me.
Yeah.
That's a hard one to follow, Rav. Do you have anything to add on?
Yeah, I was going to go something. I was going to say something silly, but
silly.
Silliness is good. No,
we like silly too.
I was going to say, just don't compare yourself to other parents. Like, every kid is unique, and we just need to just not be so hard on ourselves, and and just remember, like, all those Instagram parents, how many times did they have to take that video
Yeah.
for it to look that perfect, and the filters, and how much time have they got on their hands to be making these videos?
Yes.
That might make you feel a little bit less of a great parent. So don't do that. Don't listen to them.
That's fantastic advice, actually.
Be the best parent you can be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And fill your cup. Make sure you fill your cup so that you can
fill your cup. God damn it! Absolutely, absolutely agree, guys. I want to say thank you so much for coming and doing. I feel like this chat was way better than the last chat, and I'm not even joking.
We have more stuff to talk about now.
I think you two are just amazing parents. I hear a lot of the stories from you two, and I'm just marveled by you two. Are wonderful parents. You really are.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming to talk to me. And if if for some reason this hasn't recorded, I'm just going to block you. All right? I'm not going to tell you. You just will never hear from me again. Thanks, guys.
Over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true.